The Huawei Nova 14 Pro recently released here in South Africa, and after testing it for a few weeks, I'm actually really impressed. It has everything you could want in a phone box. There's the phone, of course, but you also get a case, a charging cable, and a charging block. It only comes in a 512 gig variant, and it'll set you back 17,000 South African Rand. Now I know what you're thinking. Nick, that's expensive. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it because it is, but you get what you pay for, and it's honestly one of the best upper mid-range smartphones I've used for a while now because it offers almost everything that you'd find in a flagship Huawei smartphone. But before we get into all of that, I've also been testing out the MatePad 11.5-inch Paper Matte Edition tablet, that is, and it's gotta be my favorite tablet under 8,000 Rand. In the box you also get a charging cable and a charging block, but if you get the Paper Matte Edition like I have, then you also get a microfiber cloth. It has a very sleek design, a massive 10,100 mAh battery to power its 11.5-inch 120Hz 2.5K screen, which feels so good and picks up pretty much no reflections. It's crazy thin at 6.1mm, but somehow it manages to squeeze in 4 speakers. It's optimized so well, so it feels extremely fast, and just like with Huawei phones, you can also install Gbox to access Google services, including the Play Store. If you have 10,000 Rand to spare, you can pick up the Paper Matte Edition with the M Pencil, which feels incredible on the screen, and the Smart Keyboard, which has a detachable back cover with a kickstand. That's genius. Oh, and don't forget about the Watch GT6 series if you want that full ecosystem experience. I'll leave a link to my Watch GT6 video down below, as well as any product links, because most of them are actually on special right now. But let's get back to the phone. So obviously its battery capacity is not quite as large as the tablets, but it sits at 5,500 mAh, which is actually larger than their flagship battery capacities. And it's backed by 100-watt wide charging. It comes in crystal blue and black. I have the black color, and its matte finish shimmers under light and is very fingerprint resistant. The glossy camera island does pick up fingerprint smudges though, but I like the mix of matte and gloss. And to top it off, it's very thin at just 7.78mm. You're gonna have to go for a flagship Huawei Pure device if you want metal side frames and a glass back, but the Nova 14 Pro does have an IP65 certification for dust and water splash protection. The back plate is slightly curved on all its edges, but they match the slight quad curves of the screen. It's pretty much completely flat though. The curves are mainly found on the bezels, so you get that classy look with the functionality of a flat display, and those bezels are quite slim and symmetrical. As for the actual screen, it's honestly flagship level. It's a 10-bit 6.78-inch OLED panel which packs in 449 pixels per inch, has a full screen brightness of 1200 nits, there's two 160Hz PWM dimming, a 300Hz touch sampling rate, and a 120Hz refresh rate. But get this, it uses flagship level LTPO technology, so it can refresh between 1 and 120 Hz. There's unfortunately no eSIM support or 5G, but there is a dual SIM slot, as well as Wi-Fi 7, an IR blaster, and NFC, and yes, it does support tap to pay. There's also a full screen always-on display, a side-mounted fingerprint scanner which works just as well as the ones on the Pure 80 series, and even lets you assign a double tap shortcut such as the flashlight. And before you ask, yes, you can install Gbox, which allows you to gain access to Google services, including the Play Store and Gemini, which can even be set as your default AI assistant, so it works with a gesture, like with all other phones. And don't forget that this phone also has dual speakers.
Hi, I'm Gemini. We're about to go live, where you can explore complex topics or ideas just by talking.
Speaking of AI, there's a bunch of interesting AI features like air gestures to take a screenshot and scroll, interactive lock screens to use those air gestures to play mini games, and a bunch of AI photo features to remove objects from a pic and even choose your best expression from multiple different photos. Software in general is great too, since EMUI 15 allows for loads of customizations. You can adjust folder sizes and even create stackable widgets. And to be honest, this phone feels just as fast as any flagship because software to hardware optimizations have been implemented so well. And that's saying a lot considering it's powered by the 7nm Kirin 8020 chipset with a max clock speed of 2.28 GHz. It has 8 cores, which is identified as 12 cores in third-party apps due to hyperthreading, just like we saw with the Kirin 9020 and the Pura 80 series. And that's because this is pretty much a different version of the exact same chip. It also has the same 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage as the Pura 80 Pro, so naturally its benchmark scores are actually pretty similar to the Pura 80 series devices, but it does seem to get lower GPU benchmark scores. So naturally, it didn't quite reach the same average FPS as the Pura 80 phones when playing Genshin Impact. It wasn't as stable either, but it was very smooth while I was playing. I mean, 51.8 FPS on average is quite good considering I had all the graphical settings cranked to the max. And it was the same case with Wuthering Waves, but it again played perfectly fine with all the settings maxed out. One thing to note is that many high FPS games tend to cap out at 90 FPS instead of 120. It's not really surprising though, since the Pura 80 series do the same thing, but it's something to keep in mind. It averaged the same FPS in Call of Duty and came pretty close in the other two games when compared to Huawei's flagships. And those are flagships. This isn't, which is very impressive. I mean, if you lowered the graphical settings in-game by just a little bit, you'd no doubt get better performance. Alright, last but certainly not least, one of the main reasons to buy this phone, its cameras. On the front, there's not one but two selfies, a 50 megapixel sensor with autofocus and an 8 megapixel telephoto selfie with 2x optical zoom. On the back, there's an ultra chroma camera, the same one that you see in the Pura 80 phones. It improves color accuracy by 120%, and this is the first Nova series device to include it. There's also a 50 megapixel main sensor with variable aperture, a 12 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera. And while the ultra-wide shot comes out pretty decent during the day, the main camera produces a flagship level photo. Color accuracy is maintained when switching to the telephoto thanks to that chroma camera, and while 3x optical zoom is decent, anything further than that is a bit underwhelming. Portrait shots, on the other hand, are insanely good when using the main or telephoto. Edge detection is perfect, detail is fantastic, and tonal range is spot on, again thanks to that chroma camera. By the way, I've left the main camera's aperture on auto mode. Selfies come out great when using the main selfie sensor, but portrait mode is a bit of a hit and miss, though the edge detection is significantly better when using the telephoto selfie sensor. It takes good enough pics at night too, but the main selfie camera produces more detail, aside from portrait mode of course. The main and telephoto once again take superb portrait shots at night. The ultra-wide is a bit questionable, but the main is above average. The 3x telephoto is once again decent, and while the max 30x zoom shot isn't perfect, at least you can still make out what's going on here. That ultra-wide camera is definitely not the best when it comes to video, but at least it can shoot 4K video at 30 FPS. The main takes significantly better video, it's more detailed, more stable, and can be done at 4K 60. The telephoto can also record 4K 60 FPS video, and it does it pretty well, especially when you consider how much wind there was on this day. Slow motion video can only be done with the main camera, and it's limited to 1080p resolution and 480 FPS. There's no portrait video mode per se, but there is an aperture video mode which is capped out at 1080p. It looks alright, but standard video is very good thanks to nice natural depth anyway. Alright, so anyone who wants some close-up and personal video, this phone has a second selfie camera. It's super windy here, by the way, and we can shoot 4K 30fps selfie video at 2.4 times with the secondary selfie sensor. But then if you drop down to 1x or to wide, which is what I've done now, and enable wind reduction, which I just found in settings, this is what it looks like and this is what it sounds like, and it can do it at 4K 60 FPS when shooting selfie video. Selfie video at night comes out looking a lot better than expected too, especially when you take a look at night selfie footage from more expensive flagships. But ultra-wide video at night is again just not very good. Main video is a lot better, aside from some lens flare, and telephoto video at night can pan surprisingly smooth in such a dark situation. Alright, so quick recap here. Cameras are more than capable, and so is gaming performance. Software is polished and very well optimized. The display is honestly flagship level. The design is classy, charging is very fast, and the battery is massive. Honestly, if you can live without wireless charging, IP68, eSIM, slightly better performance and better cameras, then you could get this, the MatePad combo, and the titanium Watch GC6 Pro combined for less than the Pura 80 Ultra. Just some food for thought. As always, this is TechNick, and I'll catch you in the next one.